Imagine walking into a store to buy a couch. You test the cushions, you pick the color, and you pay, leaving with it the same day. Now, imagine instead of a couch, it's a firearm, a lethal tool designed to kill. Sadly, this isn't a hypothetical, as in many cases, you can buy a firearm with the same lack of scrutiny, the same speed, and sometimes even less paperwork. America's gun control problem is out of control, and our laws need a major overhaul. So, I am going to talk about some plans that we could implement to help solve this crisis. Today, I will be sharing the major flaws of gun control and some solutions that may aid our system. And personally, I chose this because I am quite upset about how many schools get shut up, and I wish for change. Now, as I stated before, you can obtain a gun in the same time it took to get a couch. Well, in many states, you can purchase a firearm in under an hour. At times, without a background check. If someone decides to buy privately or at a gun show, they could purchase it without even showing that they're legally allowed to own the gun. This process isn't just a loophole, it's the system breaking, causing more guns to be open for more shooters to commit crimes with. Now, there are some rules and tests in place that are assisting the system. Let me explain what the federal baseline requires if you buy from a licensed dealer. You must fill out an ATF form 4473, which asks for personal info and about a dozen yes or no questions about your criminal, mental, and drug activities. This dealer then runs you through the NICS, which is the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. This process sounds short, but overall okay, so what would be the catch? Simply put, not all sales require this process. Federal law doesn't require background checks for private sales between individuals, meaning at gun shows or through an online marketplace or some stranger, you could walk up to them, nod your head, transfer cash, and you could get a gun. This leads to tragedies such as the 2019 Odessa, Texas shooting. This perpetrator failed a background check at a licensed dealer. Then, after being denied via the simple test, he simply bought his rifle from a private dealer, bypassing the system, resulting in 7 dead and 20 injured. Now, you can say this is a rare phenomenon, but according to a 2015 study published by the National Library of Medicine, 22% of all U.S. gun owners reported that their most recent gun was bought without any actual check. Nearly a quarter of those owners bypass the system via this loophole. Now, most private sales are not tracked, which causes problems when trying to collect data. In some states, the privacy is actually amplified by local and state laws, making it almost impossible to get accurate data representing the situation, making it harder to make rules that combat this problem. Now, I'm sure that you'd be surprised to know that the US is the only high-income country with this level of firearm availability. According to the article, How Many Guns in the U.S., All About Americans' Firearms in 2024 from ammo.com, it explains that the population estimates for 2024 show that the U.S. has approximately 345.4 million people, of which 258.3 million are adults. Firearms in circulation are estimated to be over 500 million in the U.S., meaning that there are at least 1.5 firearms per every person in the country, and about 1.93 firearms per adult. Now, that's not eye-opening enough. I have some other statistics to show you. This graph, which is per 100,000 population killed by firearm homicides, the age-adjusted homicide rates in the U.S. are 19 times greater than they were in France, 77 times greater than they were in Germany, and the U.S. has 33 times more the rate of firearm homicides than seen in Australia. Now, this was found in healthdata.org. That was published October 31st, 2023, asking on gun violence, the United States is an outlier. The CDC found more than 48,000 people died from gun violence in 2022, over half by suicide. Look, guns themselves are not evil, but they are a lethal tool, and used as a tool, they are a key to impulsivity. Suicide is a major problem. 85 to 90% of suicide attempts using a firearm are successful compared to less than 5% of other methods. Now, when you combine dangerous thinking with an easily accessible tool for suicide, you add more bodies onto the pile. A Harvard study found that a 17% drop in homicides in states that had waiting periods. A simple waiting period can help save a good many people and allow the facilities in place to actually assist the troubled individuals. Now that the facts have been established, which highlights some of the more glaring problems our system faces, I like to discuss what we as a nation could do to help solve this tragic issue. I know gun control is a controversial subject and can get quite heated, but a 2023 Pew Research Center survey says that 88% of Americans, including a majority of Republicans and gun owners, favor requiring background checks for all, which means implementing universal background checks is more common sense than actual problem. Because currently, you only have to do a federal background check from a licensed dealer, not any private sales. In states that have adopted universal background checks, fewer guns end up in the hands of people prohibited from owning them. In addition to universal background checks, waiting periods could greatly assist in aiding gun control efforts while leaving people their personal freedoms. By not banning guns and simply delaying them, we allow more time for our system to pick up on red flags and limit the impulsivity impact of guns. Furthermore, I redirect you back to the Harvard study that cited a 17% drop in gun homicides after waiting periods were implemented. The possible annoyance and loss of complete freedom would be more than worth it to save other people's families' lives and possibly your own. It also would allow the system more time to actually check each form. Now we must understand that making new laws from scratch can be a slow process, especially when the public view of it can be quite negative and heated. Although, as I stated prior, most agree with simple changes. Every other major nation has already tackled this problem, so we have plenty of tried and tested methods to implement. For example, Australia, after a 1996 mass shooting in Port Arthur, in the wake of the event, they enacted mandatory buybacks, strict licensing, and universal background checks. This has culminated in 25 years of not a single mass shooting getting anywhere as lethal as the Port Arthur attack and a massive drop in gun homicides. We as a nation need to implement smart, evidence-based laws on gun control to mitigate the problem drastically and hopefully stop morning schools and families every week. We need to find more ways to stop mass shootings, as there were 503 mass shootings in 2023 alone, stated on gunviolencearchive.org. We as a nation should not stand for the unnecessary abuse of freedom in which the people who pay are not the perpetrators. If you wish to make a change towards a better future, you can email our state governor, Gavin Newsom, at www.gov.contact/contact and share your ideas on solving this problem that plagues our nation. What was that?